People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, it's been a funny old 24 hours. You've heard rumours of Torreira going, well, not necessarily back to Italy, but rumours of he wants to leave. And I wanted to offer some thoughts in relation to Dani Ceballos. Now, we might as well do both of them. Now, let's start with Dani Ceballos. Now, for me, a bit of it come out of the Europa League game. Now, I've written it down. I think fans need to be use a bit of common sense. I feel, for me, with Dani Ceballos, it's a point now I'm looking past the fact that he's very good technically, because we can all admit he's a good technically based player. When he came into the club, it looked like a great piece of business, and I still think it potentially could be for a year. Obviously, the carrot of playing regular football, of playing to a great standard so that Real Madrid integrate you into their long-term plans. Obviously, regular football for the Euros. Obviously, he had a fellow Spaniard in Unai Emery. It ticked all the right boxes, but I have to question it now, because first comment I would say, if for me anyways, people, is what was the plan of bringing Ceballos in here? And I say that because you look at us tactically, nobody's really thriving in this system, bar probably Aubameyang. And Aubameyang, it sounds silly, that's his job, but he's just scoring goals. It's not a thing where the system is playing to a great standard. If it was, then I know Aubameyang's scored great goals this season, but potentially he could get more. The system, we're bringing Ceballos in. For me, it highlights what are we trying to do as a team for every player, because nobody offensively or defensively is excelling or seems to know the system. But also, what was the thinking behind it? Of course, it looked like good business. If we had to use funds elsewhere or didn't have money or whatever, we saw Ceballos' situation, we brought him to the club. It was good business. But what was the plan when we went for him? How was he going to feature in this team? Beyond obviously playing in midfield, how are we going to utilise him? Because it's not just him. Well, in terms of offensively, we all know whether Ozil and Ceballos are there are problems with movement and just creativity in our team, so they can't really thrive. There's not really a system for Ceballos to go in and thrive. Attacking should be the least of Arsenal's problems with Ceballos, Ozil, and all of these sort of players. I'm purposely not speaking about the front three because it shouldn't be our problem. So I have to wonder, what was the plan? How are we going to utilise him? How was we going to help his adaptation period? Now, he doesn't have the luxury of taking 6 months to adapt like Pepe. I say that because everybody can recognise Pepe needed time, or Pepe needs time, but it seems like nobody realised that Ceballos is coming from similar circumstances in a new league to a new team and still getting to grips. Well, he's here for a year, so he has to hit the ground running. We can't wait for half a year. And I think he has, to a degree, slotted in, adapted and whatnot. Clearly, his technical level is very good. He's a very, very technical-based player. He's, pardon me again, he's brave in possession. We lacked ballers like that. I think he's been a good addition. But beyond obviously being a great player technically, I'm looking for a bit more from him, and I've been a bit underwhelmed. I still believe in him and whatnot, and I do have more criticism of the system than his actual form himself, because I'm gonna get onto it, but he's barely he's barely playing, people. He's had what, 600 odd Premier League minutes. I think it said that. I could be wrong, but he's had however many Premier League minutes, people. The relevance is he's only completed 90 minutes 3 times, and he's had a couple 60th and whatnot, and obviously he's been subbed. Now, it doesn't matter if it's Ceballos, Joe, Ozil or whatever, or Ramsey. Sometimes they're not, they might be saved for bigger games, or if they weren't saved for bigger games, they're not necessarily completing 90 minutes. So I do think there's an issue with creativity at this team, or under Emery, how we use creative midfielders and whatnot. I think he's got a handbrake. He doesn't really trust them. But at the same time, I have to question Ceballos, and I say this because he's 23, and from what I see, from what I believe he can personally be held accountable for, you've got to learn to do certain things in the more effective positions. He's a lovely technical-based footballer. I love that he comes deep, he wants the ball. But at times, he's trying to nutmeg people on the halfway line. He's trying to make silly passes on the edge of his area. In the final third, sometimes just get your head up and find the ball. Ceballos is lovely technically. I want him to stay permanently. But to get to that next level and break into Madrid, he needs to play with greater maturity. He's made 100 appearances or so in La Liga, and I believe he's only got 4 assists, and a big part of that is because he's not mature in his play. At times he's playing in areas or showing his technical level in areas that it doesn't need to happen. He needs to learn to be more effective. Play that pass, get that assist, or play that move that starts the sequence to a goal. And he does do that. He's only 23, but it's about taking it up a level now. And if he wants to play for Madrid, he's got to do that. But like I said, there's no plan. We knew he was coming in here for a year. So where was the plan to assume out of all the players he hits the ground running? Because it's like with Pepe, what is the plan? We don't play to these lot strengths. You can't just... It seems like Emery is too concerned with just having one creative player on the team and thinks they're going to solve everything. They're going to connect with the strikers. It needs to be the team. I would like to see Ozil and Ceballos in some games, to be honest with you, just for that reason, because they get the best out of each other potentially, because one can drop. I think Ceballos can be a success here. I would still like him permanently, but beyond the fact that I like him and whatnot, if I'm talking to a next man on my mandem and saying, yo, we should get Ceballos permanently, I haven't really got a leg to stand on, people, because he has been a bit underwhelming. I'm not even on him for missing the penalty in the Liverpool game, even though it did look like he would miss it. You do want to see a bit more. Out of 10, I'd say his signing's probably been a 5, and I might be being a bit nice because I feel it's through no fault of his own, really. 60% is not his fault because there's not really a system, or we're playing with a manager that clearly doesn't know how to get the best out of attacking-based players. So how can any of them thrive? Aubameyang is scoring goals, but to a degree, it's clouding the lack of service we give to him. Pepe's just come to the club. When Lacazette's on the field, when Ozil's on the field, when any of these creative players or the more greater technical based players in our team are on the field, people, we say the same thing. I like how he's brave in possession, he's a strong dribbler. But what was the system? We know Pepe and Ceballos completely different players, but they're brave on the ball. We needed that. So how was we going to integrate them into the team? And we're paying for it, people, really and truly. Like I said, man, they've got both players. Well, I've spoken about Pepe briefly, but both players have to face the music. But I feel 60% is down to the system, and Emery's not really trusting them, people. Apparently, Raul Sanllehi pushed to sign Luis Enrique after Wenger's departure, and apparently he's trying to get him again. We did hear rumours he didn't want to sign for the club due to alleged transfer budgets made available, so we'll see how that one goes. Apparently, Arsenal are interested in youth recruitment duo Dave Harrison and Lyndon Tomlinson from Manchester United. Obviously, a bit of that is in regards to the restructuring at the club with Steve Morrow and a couple of other people around them positions gone. You've heard us link with Joe Shields. Clearly, we want to ramp up our academy operations, whether that's recruiting the best players before under 15 and beyond, or just making us more competitive, or just giving us more expertise with these sort of individuals who knows people. Congratulations to under 16 player Kion Edwards for signing a scholarship, and also I've seen Malcolm Ebowe seems to be training with West Ham, so hopefully his future gets sorted. And I have no clue why he left Arsenal. In fact, I do, but I can't speak on it. Hopefully his future gets sorted, because I do believe he's a very good player, people. Apparently, Xhaka has indicated that he wants to leave Arsenal, courtesy of the Mirror. Apparently, the club are looking to sell him with Germany the preference. Are we going to give him back to Gladbach and throw some peas for Zakaria? We should have done that last season and got croissants from them, but now he's gone Bayern Munich. Concerning people is that reports coming out of Italy are running with the player isn't, in relation to Torreira, the player isn't living in a good moment at Arsenal. He seems unsatisfied and unhappy about his adventure in England. Apparently, in the next few weeks, there's planned talks over his situation with Arsenal, and if things don't change, he could go in January. And it says it understands he wants to know his role at Arsenal in the project. And to be honest with you, it tells you a lot, people, because he wasn't he was a Michelin-tat signing. Apparently, Emery had concerns over him. Was in hindsight, I thought because of his form and how good he is as a player, he would play on a regular basis. But maybe last season it was a needs must. Emery clearly doesn't favour him. He's trying to make him this cam/ball winning midfield, and it doesn't work. And if I'm Torreira's as baffed as us. He's not playing. Fair enough, he was coming back from injury and fatigue and whatnot at the start, but he's not playing. He's been played out of position, and you're wondering, how do you feature? You're seeing players like Xhaka play week in, week out up until the point ahead of you, and they don't really deserve it. You're thinking, where do I match up? Because Torreira's gone from being one of the first names on the team sheet to having to settle for Europa. And he's one of the players that you're looking at this team we need to build around. If we could bring in another combative midfielder with him, we could have something good. Torreira should be one of the first names on the team sheet. We've heard he's had concerns before. He's probably got concerns over the management. He's probably not the happiest of people living in England. I think he's settled now, and he has said it before. But if you was to ask him, does he prefer Italy? He'd probably say yes, and things like this makes you want to leave. And it doesn't matter if it's the mismanagement of Torreira or Ceballos, these all go back to the management. Torreira, please stay, things will change. I want Torreira to stay. I think he's central to the plans. I'll be absolutely livid, people, if he leaves. Hopefully it's just paper talk, but it is concerning, and you couldn't begrudge Torreira for leaving. Like, the prospect of Torreira leaving, Aubameyang and Lacazette potentially leaving as well because of their contracts. We'll be left. Our only star player will be Pepe. No disrespect to him. So we need to tread lightly. And I don't know why Torreira is not in the plans. That's only for Emery. I don't know why he doesn't feature him. Clearly, he doesn't really favour him. He wants someone a bit bigger and more composing. I don't feel Torreira has been perfect, but I do think there's not really a case for any midfielders to be playing over him. He's got a skill set that many of them lack. Added to that as well, he's also, for me, out of all the central mid options, he's probably the best central mid option in terms of just doing your job. You got Torreira doing the composing, breaking down play. You don't go any wrong in that. I think Torreira was looking like a good signing last season. He's still learning and he's suffering from burnout. But he wants to know where he features. He's exactly what, he's in his early 20s and he's in part of a young squad. He probably, when he was told here, was told, together with you and the other young players, you're going to be central to this with these teenagers and mid-20s, early 20s. And he hasn't played. Guendouzi deserves to play, but Xhaka hasn't deserved to play over him. Willock, you don't know me, Willock's deserved to play. But if I'm Torreira and I'm looking at Willock, I don't think he's necessarily deserves to be in the pivot ahead of me. The saving grace is now Xhaka's career here looks done, so Torreira might get more first-team football and these publications can stop making up clickbait. But who knows, people? Who actually knows if there's truth to it? Who actually knows if there's nonsense to it? If there are planned meetings, hopefully it's positive in relation to whatever they want to talk about. But I've got nothing more to say, people, on that note, really. So hopefully it turns around. Hopefully we beat Leicester because it's it's Emery's 50th Premier League game and it potentially could be his last. So he's going to need to get that right. But on that note, I'm going to keep it moving. People, DG, thank you for watching as usual. I'm out.